myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot see.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. It's the three amigos to start your weekend. As always, joined by Mitch, Steve and Keith to take you through the next 2 hours in the build-up to Newcastle taking on Crystal Palace at home. And breaking news for Mitch as we find him in another country, in Germany this time for a pal's birthday. Weatherspoons are to tackle spiralling costs, Mitch, by asking bar staff to piss directly into customers' mouths. So,
no. I could tell a tale at this point, but I'm not going to go anywhere near.
Yes, steer clear of that. And I guess you'll probably be able to help the referee that we had against Liverpool as well obtain one of these. Andre Mariner's timepiece back in its box. Nice
very easily.
Nice Liverpool Football Club badge there. And I did like this one from Decker Gardner. He sent that in to us with the referee waiting to get a handout from ASM pre-match at St James's Park. Plenty more to come as well with all your usual favourites on here. But we'll start with something that I'm glad is closed. And that's the transfer window, because for the last 3.5 months, I feel like I've done nothing but talk about certain players who've not ended up with the club. Listen, I've enjoyed it. I committed to it. I said I was going to do it. First time I've even paid attention to the transfer window for the last 10 or so years, I would say. And I've done the full thing up and down, like most Newcastle fans have, except I've had to do a podcast about it every night, or more or less every night. What's your views then, Mitch? We don't want marks out of 10 for it. Just give us an honest appraisal of where you think, where we think maybe we could have improved, or was it a good window? What was your overall take on it?
I think overall, you can't be unhappy with the amount of money that's been spent given the last 14 years. You can't be unhappy with genuine improvements in my playing squad that you can see on the pitch. You can't be unhappy with breaking transfer records to invest in the squad, which is long overdue. So in that respect, we've got to remember where we've been and where we're going on this journey. I've talked about enjoying the journey and forgetting the destination on more than one occasion. Stu and Steve and I, between the three of us, have had some very interesting conversations this week, which I'm sure we'll touch on some of it, as we chat tonight, and understanding how active we've been in the window, more active than I think people believe, and more active than people would understand. And in some respects, it's raised questions between us about the whole dynamics of the recruitment team and how and Ashworth working together. Are there a little few too many moving parts at the minute? Is Howe and his no dickheads policy, is that now actually sending Ashworth out to look for certain unicorns which he's never going to find? And so, is there too many moving parts in that respect? Without going into certain details, we were aware even on the final day that there was potentially a number of things could have happened. But those were quickly shut down one by one. And referring to something we were told the night before, we were pretty much of the opinion the night before, we're done. It's just not going to happen. Now, Howe's comments today are quite revealing. If it really is the case that other clubs have been either felt under pressure or been put under pressure not to be seen to be helping us at all. All that's done today, from what I've seen, and I've dipped in and out of Twitter in particular, is it's creating another siege mentality. And I don't think that's what you really want to do with us lads and lasses, because I think if we put the barricades up and circle the wagons, the only thing that's going to happen is we're going to benefit out of it as we get stronger internally and stronger together. So it's going to be a counterproductive thing if there has indeed been pressure applied to other teams not to be seen to be helping them. Now, where could that pressure be coming from, one wonders? And why would there be pressure to be seen not to help? And And so it really does raise a lot of questions for how to be that open about it as well. Okay, we will in future take our business elsewhere. I'm sure there's more Isaacs out there to be bought, and I'm sure there's more Botmans out there to be bought, and that's how we'll do our business in future. Thank you very much, and goodbye. And don't come to us with your little begging bowl when you're desperate to make a sale and you're thinking you can apply a Newcastle tax on top. We'll just turn around and tell you to sod off.
Steve, it's been a roller coaster, mate. We've covered it on here every week on the Amigos, and we've done Wednesday nights as well. And you know, it can be difficult for me in particular to try and rehash things, but I haven't had much of a problem over the last few months, really, because we've been linked with maybe about 700 plus players. So all I've had to do is find pictures of different players and chat about them and do me little bits of research, and that's it. And with the help of people like, you know, yourselves and, you know, Ben Jacobs, Ross Gregory in particular, you know, getting a little bit of an insight into these people. You know, I think we've tried to give a fair balanced view of who we're definitely in for and who we're not in for, and, you know, what's made up and what's fantasy and whatever. But, you know, the fact that the drawbridge went up and the soundproofing went around St James's Park, especially when Dan Ashworth came in, you know, very little has got out. And the players that were brought in, even before Ashworth arrived, you know, the Bruno deal, I mean, you know, we all think, we're all led to believe we were probably looking at Paqueta first, and then, you know, we saw Bruno and decided to buy Bruno, and that was the end of the chances of Paqueta coming to Newcastle. But yeah, nothing's really got out. Everything's been done away from the public glare, and things have been shut down. But, you know, give us your views on the whole thing, mate. Yeah,
you're right, Steve. I think you and Joe held it well together, considering you had so many plates that you were spinning at various times during the last few months. It's been great. I just picking up on what Mitch said, which is exactly what, you know, what the conversation you had. You look at the players that were bought. You look at Botman. He came from overseas. You look at Isak. He's come from overseas. You look at Bruno. He came from abroad. Trippier. There's 4 players straight away. And that kind of fits in a little bit with what Eddie Howe was implying. Then you look at Pope and Wood. They came from relegated teams. Obviously, Wood were picked up by given that team who basically thought they were going to be relegated, and their owners were desperate for money. We give them a premium on him. I say Pope, they would Burnley already get relegated. And then you had Target, who a new manager had came into Aston Villa and decided didn't want him, and was quite happy to send him on loan. And if you remember, it suddenly became very difficult in June to actually pin it down on whether or not he was going to sign permanently, which really only leaves Dan Burn. And I think Dan Burn, 29-year-old Geordie lad, wanting to come back to his hometown club that he had sort of had a bit of an effort to get into when he was a youngster, but didn't quite work out. And you can understand why, you know, him and his agent pushed for that deal to happen. But there's your 8 signings, 4 that they must have found very, very easy to operate with, especially the speed at which they, for example, picked up Bruno and then picked up Isak. And I think that tells you an awful lot. And I think it fits in with what Howe was saying about the premium. If that's the word we want to use, I don't think it's necessarily a premium. I think what it is, it's just people digging their heels in. I don't think the price was ever, you know, prices were ever a problem in Newcastle. I think it was just certain clubs that were just, and we've seen one club in particular in the West Midlands or the East Midlands that suddenly, you know, until the very last minute was selling nobody, and then eventually squeezed 84 million pips out of Chelsea for a 21-year-old who's, you know, been out injured for a year and prior to that had only played 30 games in the Premier League anyway. So I think that's what's made it difficult. I think the fact that we brought in director of football very late on in the dealings with the club. I think Eddie Howe, he had his ways, he had his targets. He was working with Steve Nixon and the rest of his scouting team from the moment that he arrived. He's formulated his plans, and then of course he's had to explain that to Dan Ashworth, and Dan Ashworth has had to really, you know, pick the feet up, and if he's on that bike, it's pedaling already when he jumped onto the saddle, you know. And obviously Eels has come in, but he's a chief executive. He's there to make sure that the money that we are spending is being spent correctly. He's there to look after the club. Ashworth's there to look at it from a sporting integrity and what's going on the pitch and what's needed to keep all of the squad happy. So that's the dynamic that we've had to operate during that close season. And I think Mitch is right. There's been so many plates spinning, and some of them have been spinning in opposite directions at times. Some of them have been speeding up, some of them have been falling off. But you know what? When you look at the 8 that we've brought in during the winter, and then the 4 that we've just picked up now, I think nobody could complain about any of those players. And every single one of them has been specifically targeted with a specific role and specific position in mind for the way that Eddie Howe wants to play. It was then going to be very, very difficult for Ashworth to actually get the rest of them, the unicorns, as Mitch described them. But you know what? This is the new Newcastle United. We've got money in hand. We've got time. We've got patience. The club will have patience. The fans have got to have patience, because this is first part of the first proper transfer window that we've had, where it's been properly been able to be analysed. Because let's face it, Mirdad, Amanda, Jimmy Rubin, Al Rumayyan, and then Mr. Al Sajur, with them coming on board when they did, it was very much a race against time for that January window. So we've just got to be patient. We've got to be. We're part of something totally different now, and it's exciting times, Steve. Really exciting. But in terms of that window, I'm absolutely delighted with what we've got. We'll always be greedy. We'll always ask for more. Everybody's like that. We're all Oliver Twist, but we're not starving, are we? Let's face it, we're not starving in terms of the quality that's come in. So just calm your chickens. The window's shut, thank God. It's bricked up. It's not going to be opened again until after the World Cup. We've got 13 games until that break at the end of November, where we'll be behind the team, where the team will start to blend even better. And we've put in some great performances, as we'll talk about later.
Yeah, fantastic. Keith, you know, it's 7th of October is going to be upon us in just over a month's time. It'll be years since Newcastle United were taken over. And I flashed a graphic up, which was on Twitter, just after the transfer window there. And just, you know, ultimately, you know, it's a lot of money spent by Newcastle United in a short space of time. And every single player, and forget about this criticism of Chris Wood, right? Every single player in some way, shape or form has done his bit for Newcastle United. You know, they've all done something to that team. They've improved it, and they've improved the squad dramatically. And there's more work to be done. We know that. But your take on the transfer window, Keith?
There's been a lot of money spent, but it's been spent wisely. And the window started where journalists who earn a living out in Newcastle were predicting we're going to spend 50 million in total. If you go back, if you go back to the show, the three of us were pitching between 125 and 165. I was top end, and 125 turns about the area with the spend. But I think, in fairness, Newcastle, they tried to spend more. I think Newcastle would have beaten my prediction and spent more than 165 if the right players become available. Where's it left us? It's left us with some cracking players. We've been realistic. I think we've got 2 years before. Don't get us wrong, we can compete now. We showed that at Liverpool on Wednesday night. We can compete with the people, the culture, the mindset, the team spirit we've got. And when we put a more ordinary side out, in the sense of who are the big players, no Wilson, no St. Maxim, no Botman, but no Bruno. And to me, that's the cog that makes it all tick. Bruno is the ultimate player that we have. He's the diamond in the team. And when he plays, I don't think it's what he does. I think it's what he makes other people do. I think he gives so much confidence and so much, he exuberates so much time that he seems to give people the time to look for a pass, get in position. And he brings so much more to the team that I think people will even see when they're watching him. He is that good. So we go to Liverpool and we play them and we're robbed. You know what I mean? Let's take nothing away. We'll probably touch on it later. But you know, to get told you've got 5 minutes into your time, which I didn't see. I think it was 5 minutes. And then to get told that you're 98 minutes plus, you're given an equaliser. Then to see the VAR decision, and then for Eddie Howe to go in after the game and ask why the VAR decision wasn't given, and be told that the people in VAR couldn't determine who was furthest ahead, and all those new legislation out saying you've got to give the attacker favour if it's equal, they said they would look at the shadows, which is just pathetic because there's nothing in the VAR manual or in the rule book says that you judge anything on shadows. That's been an opportunistic decision made by a couple of, I mean, you could call them dreamers, I could call them a lot worse, but it's a family show. They just made this, spin of the ass decision and thought, right, we'll just do that, we'll just cancel it. It's clear to be that if that had been one of the cartel teams, one of the big six, that decision would have been given. If that had been Liverpool attacking, that decision would have been given. So you come away from that. And to be honest, the next day, where a lot of people were gutted, I felt it was a win. I felt to go to Liverpool and butcher them, for as long as we did and play the way we did and play with that kind of, every time the ball bounced, it went to one of our players. Every time a ball went loose, it went to one of our players. And then I was just laughing about that because that's what somebody was saying in the pub when I was watching it. And I says, no, mate, I says, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And that's why the ball's bounced out, people, because they're grafting the knackers off every time ball goes loose. And you've got what you described a year ago as ordinary players working themselves into the ground. And there's no space on that pitch in Newcastle for people to want to hide. It's all about absolutely running through walls and giving 100%. But looking back on the window, I love the people we've brought in. I think it's brilliant that we've brought in. I'm delighted, happy with January's window, happy with the summer's window. But Steve Hasty touched on it, a trade. He says, we will always hope for more. We wouldn't be Newcastle fans if we didn't hope for more. But I think every club hopes for more. So towards the end, I mentioned the name. I mentioned him on Twitter, Dennis Zakaria. Newcastle did make an inquiry. They looked at him, made an inquiry about him. He's gone to Chelsea on a free loan for the season. And you ask yourself, as fans, we say, well, why did we not get him? Maybe he wouldn't come. Maybe he didn't fancy the Newcastle project just yet. Maybe he fancied the Champions League touch and all the rest of it. But he's gone there. But the surprising thing to me is he's gone with an option to buy at 30 million. And for a player like that, that's a snip. I mean, that is if young Gordon at Everton's worth 60, Zakaria is worth 160. Honestly, he is European class defensive midfield player. He's a total baller, total grafter. And he's played at Juventus at that level, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't do something to Chelsea. So you look at that, you look at Tielemans, and there was so much talk and so much crap amongst us that we thought that we were perched and we could get Tielemans. But again, I think something that has come in this window is wages. I think wages are an issue to Newcastle. I don't think the money of buying them is, but if you bring in, somebody said to us, well, why would you not just go and get Tielemans for 25 million? And I said, the truth is, none of us fans really know the reason. We might guess we know. People might want to be in the know and pretend they know. But nobody really, really, hand on the heart, knows why we didn't go and push the button and get £25 million for Tielemans. Because at 25 million, a 25-year-old, he is a top-class midfield player. And he would have enhanced our midfield. He would have given us something extra. But what I did was I sat down and thought, why not? And one of the ideas I came up with why they didn't get Tielemans was because he was reputedly asking for as much as 180,000 a week. Some said it was 160,000 a week. But whatever it is, he's talking about doubling the top earners at our club. There's 3 people on 100 plus, just over 100, and the rest are under 100. And if you look and say, right, Tielemans comes in, you then, and this comes from a trusted journalistic source at Eddie Howe, said, if I sign Paqueta, at the start of the season, if he signed Paqueta, he knows which 5 players would have come in and demanded more money. And out of them, I'll just hazard a guess that those 5 come out of these 6. ASM, Bruno, Joe Linton, could Isaac, I don't know whether he's got a contract that says he's got to earn the most, Trippier and Botman. Those players have come in circa around the 100,000 a week, sorry. And if you bring a Tielemans in on 180, you've just put an extra 100,000 on all those salaries. And you've just added 600,000 a week to your outgoings. 600,000 a week's 30 million a year. So all of a sudden, apart from paying Tielemans that kind of money, net end of 8.5 million in wages, and buying him for 25, you probably stuck another 30 on your wage bill to keep the others happy. So I get why we haven't, albeit I'm as disappointed as Steve Hasty just eloquently said that we normal fans, we can be greedy and we can dream. It's nice to dream. It's healthy to dream. So for me, you know, I would have liked another, if we could have got someone just to strengthen it up. I think it'll be 2 years before we can take a Wilson, a St. Maxim, a Bruno, you know, out of the squad and compete at the top and win things. So I think in 2 years' time, if them people are out, you'll have other people coming in who's equal. I think that's what will happen. But at the minute, they still stand out performers. In terms of position of the club, where I think we're weakest, I would say goalkeeper. I've got no embarrassment to say that we've got cover, and we'll do what we can. But going back to what Neil said earlier, Neil hit a great point, that we probably are getting cold-shouldered off the big six. But why did we deal with Man United? You know, that's something that still rankles with me, that it's not about a bloke being unhappy. It's not about keeping somebody. It's about keeping your squad as strong as you can. The first priority at Newcastle United is to keep Newcastle strong. And the second priority is players. And the third priority is to think about other teams. But if them six are playing games with us, why then do you get bummed around off Henderson, bummed around off Lingard, and then give a kid away for 5 million or 7 million or whatever it is? But and when I see him in that shirt, somebody said today on Twitter, it just looks wrong. And I get exactly what they mean. You know, him going there hasn't done us any good at all. It's just done Man United good. And if he comes off the bench and replaces De Gea, he is considerably better than Darlow. And I don't muffle my words in saying that. He's considerably better. And I'm sorry to see him go. I wish him all the best because he was a great servant for us. But it chews my wick off that we've rolled over for Man United. But from the players we've got in, I'm delighted. And the biggest thing I'm pleased about is, you know, for a bloke who's never going to score and a bloke who's not a goal scorer, it's a long time since I've seen a lad knock the ball in so early in a game with such conviction. You know, to have the conviction to bang it in the top of the net. And then what pleased me more than that was the lad behind his run to perfection on the second goal. His running on the second goal was absolute, like ball wetting. It was just unbelievable. His running, how he left that man. He gets through, and then he made a nonce of two people. He made two people look like Sunday morning footballers. He dropped one in his backside, turned the other one, and then smashed that in again. And that, to me, told me what's got to come from this lad. This lad isn't just an ordinary player. This lad's a bit special. And I've seen, you know, you talk about players we could have got and didn't get. Oh, I tell you what, I'm well happy with this lad. And what he did for that second goal was unbelievable. The fact he cancelled it goes back again to what Neil says. It's what I said to you all a year today or a year ago coming up. There's a campaign out there to stop Newcastle being what Newcastle are. There's a campaign there to stop us getting into the inverted commas big seven, which I don't want to be in. I just wanted the big one on our own and just part of them. But if someone had told me that you would get a point at home to Man City, you should have had 3, and you'll get beat at Liverpool, but should have had 3. And it should have been 2-0, Isaac's second goal. And if Isaac's second goal had gone in, I don't think they'd have got back into that game. No. And I think we'd have had 6 points off Liverpool, Man City if things had gone our way. Listen, we'll get more players. We'll climb. We'll do it. We're going to be great. And I'll tell you what, we're doing it with an air of decency and an air of pride and an air of stick together. And all Newcastle fans, hey, let's suppose we finish 10th this year or 12th or 8th. It's how you get there. There's one thing certain, we won't finish there next season and we will just fight. And I tell you what, we're a hard team to beat. There was a Liverpool spot in that pub and he turned around, he said, hey, I says, I can't believe what you're doing with Liverpool. And he says, I'm going to say it, yeah, we haven't played very well tonight. I says, because we haven't let you. That's why you haven't played very well. If you see, you know, Klopp's face, it's like a bull massive chewing a wasp. He grips it. You know, we get accused of chucking a tissue. They would put 2 fingers up at our bench. That was the anxiety they had in beating little old Newcastle relegation for the last year. So stay proud, stay together, because this team's only going one way.
Yeah, a KK speech from Keith. I love it, says John Justice Allen. Yeah, great stuff. And David, yes, it was a very venomous atmosphere down there, but it was a great one. It was great actually seeing Newcastle that first half outplay Liverpool at home, and they were up against the wall. And yeah, I agree with everything Keith says. I'm going to make an unshamed plug because I do get lots of messages, and I know the guys do as well when they're out and about. Thanks for NUFC Matters. You get us through everything. I'm going to make an unashamed plug. Some of you will know that I'm making a film this autumn, A New Breed of Criminal, in the Northeast. And I have posted the link in the chat tonight. Now, very rarely do I ask for anything for myself on this show. We do a lot of fundraising. We make things for people. I have set up a fundraising page to help us with a few of the costs of making this film. It is already funded, but there are always going to be costs to hit you and develop during the making of the film. We're shooting it for 2 weeks in November. It is, as I wanted it, 85% Northeast cast. And some of these people have never been in a feature film before, not because they're poor actors, because they haven't been given a chance. And it's my opportunity, because, not only have I written this film, but I'm also producing it. I'm going to have an opportunity to give people a leg up. And that's what I want to do. It's good for me because it's a project that I've been working on for the last 6 or 7 years. But it's also an opportunity, as I say, for people of the Northeast to make a name for themselves. So if you can make a donation, click the link. There's quite a few ways you can get involved. I think the smallest donation you can make is a £5. All of that is going straight into the film pot. We've set a target on there of 50,000, but that's not what we expect to raise off that. As I say, the budget has been acquired for the film, but this will go into the project. It'll help us, and whether it helps for minor things on the set, or depending on how we raise a major thing, you never know. It is all going to go towards the process. We do have a distribution deal. It's going to be out on Netflix, Amazon, Sky. It's an international distribution deal. It'll be out on Blu-ray, DVD, and it'll be coming out next September. So A New Breed of Criminal, as I say, is my project. So if you can, please help us. I'll post the link again, but it is pinned to the top if you're watching on YouTube tonight. And if you can make one donation tonight to help me out, then please do that. Okay, end of that public service announcement. I do want to get onto this, which we were sent by John Ramsey. He went, "Hi, Steve. Hope you've recovered from last night's appalling officiating. Topic for discussion on the Three Amigos. Digital clock in the stadium, where everyone can see and it's synchronized to a ref's watch. When he or she stops the watch, everyone can see when and why. I would appreciate your opinions." Mitch, you first, mate.
Timekeeping in football, it's always going to be a talking point because of how it's always traditionally been done. While some people are using the game in midweek to push this idea that we should have an independent timekeeper, the clock should be stopped every time the ball goes out of play, and because the ballpark playing time on average through Premiership season is somewhere around about 58 minutes, then maybe we should have a 60-minute, 30 minutes each way, but the clock stopped every time the ball goes dead. Gets rid of the timekeeping argument. I can see it. I can understand why people are chucking that out there as an idea. I'd like to see it trialled properly in a proper league somewhere to see just exactly how that will change the game, because it will. One man's time wasting is another man's game management. And I tried to make that point through the week. And Man City have been doing this for years under Pep. Controlling the clock, cynical little fouls, horrible little nicks and knocks, and players knowing they're taking a yellow for the good of the team, and they're cynical almost. How come when they do it, it's fantastic game management? How come when plucky little Newcastle go to Liverpool and bloody their nose and nobody's happy about it, it suddenly becomes the scourge of the game? And then their argument backfired on them when it turned out that the playing time for our game in midweek was the 9th longest of the season so far. So that sticks your argument up your jacksie as well. Thank you very much. I think people forget there's 2 teams on the pitch. How long did Jordan Henderson take going off the pitch when he was handing his captain's armband to about 4 different people and did a little tour of the cop while he was on? Did that come into the equation? I think we need more clarity from referees after the event as to why they made certain decisions they've done. Because how can you have 5 minutes added on over 45 minutes and then in that 5 minutes have another 3.5 minutes added on? That doesn't seem right. That seems nonsense. That feels like, and I know it probably sounds like sour grapes, and it probably is, it's almost like, shall we play till Liverpool score? It's it's weird. It's difficult to get your head around how you can work that one out. And I'd love to be able to speak to a referee in that situation and say, tell me what your thinking was there. Because if you look at actually the time wasted during that 5 minutes, it equates to about 1 minute 20, and most of that was with Nick Pope, an injury to Pope. I think that was 80 seconds of that was an injury to Pope. So, again, referee, where did you get that extra from? What made you decide you were going to keep adding on? You can't do it because you're irritated by something a team's doing. That's nowhere near the rules. If somebody's blatantly wasting time like that, then why weren't you dishing yellow cards out like they were going out of fashion? You have that option too in your arsenal as a referee to gain control of the game and gain control of the clock. And I think we're looking at a referee who has failed us. And that's the elephant that's sitting in the room, blowing a trumpet and wearing a party hat that nobody really wants to talk about. Because they want to talk about, how we're upset and relieved and delighted and Klopp got his justice and, oh, dear me, while Liverpool win with showing the least amount of grace I've ever seen from a Liverpool team. And that's trickling down into that fan base. We had two of them run round our table and have it larger in our faces, then go and hide behind the biggest bouncer they could find in Brooklyn Bar because they knew that it was one of those, at that moment they knew they'd fucked up because somebody was going to stand up and flatten them. And I've never seen Liverpool fans out here do that. I usually get on well with Liverpool fans out here. But even the fans seem to have lost the ability to win with a bit of grace and dignity. And I think the questions we should be asking is, how has this referee failed in his ability to control time during this game? What we shouldn't be doing is saying, oh, well, here's another difficult decision to talk about because the failing is to the referee. So why don't we just take the timekeeping off the referee and give them an easier life and let them concentrate on the game? That isn't going to get with better referees. In fact, I would dare say it's going to get with worse ones.
Yeah. What's your take on this, Steve?
I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. What I would say in terms of the game itself, I would say every corner that came in was won by Lascelles. Every corner that they had during that second half, Lascelles got his head on it and Lascelles flicked it away. In this particular occasion, whether it was just lack of concentration or was it because he had cramp and because he was struggling and he couldn't get off the ground for that particular corner, all the corners by which that Liverpool took were always swapping over. The fullbacks were coming over, and you're talking about wasting time, Mitch. You know, you had their fullbacks crossing over to take the corners.
There's two teams on the pitch.
Exactly. You know, so nothing that was taken into consideration. But what I would say, if there was any criticism to come Newcastle's way or Eddie Howe's way, is that when he realised that the Lascelles was struggling, when he was holding out a 1-1, he could have made a defensive substitution. He brought some, could have concentrated.
Steve's internet's not too good tonight. Steve, your internet's going on.
But in terms of sorry about that. Right, I'll flick out.
Okay, good. Keith, your view on potentially linking up the clock to the referee?
I think it's a great question the person's posed, and what I'd like to do is come back to that and say that my observations of the game was, when you see Klopp with his face screwed up like that, and you see coaches on the bench sticking two fingers up your players, it's a massive, huge, enormous indication of how much you've progressed. It's like a player getting kicked. It's a huge compliment to see a manager go in his post-match discussion and start rambling on instead of just sit and turn around. And let's compare two people. Look how Guardiola does his press conference and listen to Klopp. When Klopp did that press conference against Newcastle, he slaughtered us, he hammered us, and he made himself look a fool, because if we the ninth game out of 49 in balls in play most, that's 20%. We're in the top 20%. The top 20% of games where the ball's in play the most. So that completely makes a non-entity of his whole statement. He looks like an idiot. But let's get in perspective. He's having a pop at last year's relegation fodder. He's talking about the team that had no wins in 14. He's not talking about the team that were worse times 2.5 than Leicester are now. Leicester's got a point out of 5 games. We were there. We were after 14 games. That's how much head start we give them. But they're rambling on, look, they're cackling on. And Klopp is featuring us and talking about like what goes around comes around. Then found it was in the top 20% of games where the ball's in play most. So for me, all I've got to say to you is I'm not going to get angry with Klopp. I think he's a bit of a nutter at times, but it's a huge compliment in Newcastle. The idea that girls come, I don't know, it was a lady who put that forward, Steve Wraith, was that?
No, it was John Ramsey.
Right, John Ramsey, what he put, I know John. So the thing what John Ramsey's put on, I think is outstanding. And the reason I do is because if I was at a game, and let's suppose it got to 86 minutes, what's wrong with the fans knowing how much time? There could be a clock on the wall, and there could be add-on clock. Because he's got his watch that does it there. But if he stops the game, why don't you stop the big clock and just say, right, the ref stopped the game, and then see how quick it is before he starts the game again? Because if he likes Liverpool, likes Man United, he might not start it for a few more minutes later. So what I would say, John Ramsey's idea is outstanding. If I could see when the clock was getting stopped, and then at the end it come to the thing, I thought, right, well, we know exactly what's getting out on here. It's 3.5 minutes. It lets the coaches know whether it's worthwhile bringing somebody else on. But the big thing for me is when there's an injury, like Pope was injured, during that 5 minutes, it goes back to Neil's point. Where did he get the 3.5 minutes from in the 5? And he wouldn't be able to do that. He wouldn't be able to cheat and do that. And to me, like if Liverpool weren't attacking, when they were, he'd have blown the whistle if the ball had been in the middle of the pitch.
Yes. I agree.
He was letting the whole thing play out just to see if a ball could get nicked. And for me, I just laugh at it and I think that's how good we are. We are that good. You're playing at home. We've got half a team out and you've got to jump around, stick 2 fingers up at us, rob some time, disallow a good goal. Oh, God, when we get our real team out, we're going to come down, we're going to batter the lot here, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what Keith says there about VAR, I mean, that is the thing that's got me more wound up from the game. Because if that second goal stands, they don't come back. They just don't.
Never, ever.
And I still can't see the difference, no matter how many people tell us it's this, it's that. It's perspective. It's Pythagoras' theorem mixed with a little bit of, Einstein's theory of relativity. That the picture of Rashford that was deemed to be onside and the picture of Isaac, which is deemed to be offside, are not effectively mirror images of each other.
Yeah.
And I can't see if the rule is that it's got to be clear, then that's the definition of this isn't clear, and therefore the discretion should be given to the attacking player as per the rules. And this is one of the biggest problems we have, because we still in the Premier League are not applying VAR properly, and so many people in football are now openly saying that. And I think that's my biggest issue, more so than the time, because as somebody's rightly pointed out, the get out of jail free card for any referee is added on time as a minimum of, and then he's at discretion to put on whatever hell he likes. I'd still love to see an explanation as to where that extra 3 came from, because
somebody in the chat says it was a shadow, Mitch. That's what they said, and somebody earlier says you can't blame the shadows that haven't been around since the 1960s.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, why should we be penalised because their defender's got smaller feet than ours? Striker. That's basically what they're saying, isn't it? He takes a size 6 and he's taking a size 9. Do you remember that crazy referee? Was it the 78 World Cup, Thomas, where he blew?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, remember that? I mean, and at the time he got absolutely slated. But what he did was he stuck to the clock. And he said the second that ball was kicked, he blew the whistle because the clock was up. But what we saw the other day was the ball going out to play. The clock was up, and the referee, as you say, rightly decided, well, let's play out and just see how this goes. That's what he did. and that's wrong. And you're dead right about the 1.5 minutes or the 2 minutes that Pope was down. I was always under the impression, and again, this is probably hypothetical for a lot of people, but I always thought when it's at the discretion of the referee. You're right. The referee can wave a card. He could have turned around and he could have turned to Liverpool and say, while those players are down and they're pretending they've got cramp, if that's what he thinks, carry on.
Watch. Yeah,
keep it going. Or he could have played the watch and he could have said, "Now, right, I've stopped in the game," and then the players would have been aware. But at no point did he go, "I'm tagging this on, lads. You know, you keep doing it. I'm keep tagging on." That conversation was never seen, and also we never saw on BT Sport the replays that showed whether or not it was legitimately offside or not. We saw one still photograph and we saw one little bit. The analysis that was taken by the VAR down at Stockley Park must have lasted all of 20 seconds, because the game was passing away. You know?
We got more of that in the Middle East, and the coverage in the Middle East, even to the point where we even had Richard Keys back in them.
Something I was going to say on that is tonight when you're out, you have your pint in the pub tonight, lads. You should just look at your pint, you should smile at it, kiss the glass and drink it, and just say, we're getting that good that all this week I've seen Rio Ferdinand and Richard Keys both saying positive things about Newcastle. And the reason they're doing that is because if someone's getting battered in a fight, it's easy to slag them off and say he's shite. But if somebody looks like they're going to turn it around, you say, oh, this lad's got a bit of a chance. And everybody's said Newcastle won't do this, we won't do that, we won't do that. And they're looking at us thinking, shit, they've had the better of Man City and they've had the better of Liverpool. And Richard Keys and Rio Ferdinand to come on side and say something positive about us is the biggest stamp of approval from two knobheads you could ever get in your life. And this just tells you, Newcastle's coming. We're coming, and when we get there, we'll stay there. And we're doing it dignified. We're not getting carried away by these decisions. We're laughing and we're waiting for it to happen at the Palace. We wait to see what happens with VAR at Palace. Because I don't think this is over. I don't think Newcastle getting a hammering of rule makers is over yet. I really don't.
Well, I mean, I'll give you another VAR decision. People are talking about with their games. The penalty that wasn't given in the West Ham Spurs game. Now, that was on the adjacent telly to the one we were watching. And none of us could believe that wasn't given as a penalty. You know, you look at the rules and it's the state. And what reason does Cresswell have to have that body position unless Adolf Hitler's sitting in the opposite stand and he's saying hello? You know, it and that to me, clear penalty. And we're like, oh, that'll be given. And then we'll look away, there's no penalty, and there's nothing going on. You're like, well, hang on. And so we then get to half-time in our game, and you've got Keys and Gray going over that, both scratching their heads going, well, why isn't that a penalty? You know? And I think we have a problem in the Premier League with VAR and the application of it. Yeah. And we've now been saying this for 3 seasons, and it still isn't right.
Yeah, there was an incident in midweek last weekend where the ball hit the defender's hand 3 times, and they still said it was accidental. Well, which one was accidental? The first, the second, the third, all 3? Not all 3 couldn't have been, because at one of them he actually moved his hand and knocked the ball out anyway. And it was all part of the same movement. That's the sort of crap you get told. You know, it's just ridiculous. They make it up as they go along. I mean, it's only a few days ago that we were told, like, as you say, the Rashford goal, you give the benefit of the doubt the attacker. Less than a fortnight later, and oh no, you don't give the benefit of the doubt the attacker. What? Hang on, who's in charge here? Who's in charge?
Yeah, good idea for a t-shirt. So shaking back. Stamp of approval from 2 knobheads. Get that on a t-shirt, John Justice Allen, as he goes off to his printer now, his design team, and comes up with something. I would love to see what he's going to come up with that one, but I'm sure he will come up with something. We've talked that much. We've probably missed half the things we're supposed to do on this show because there's so much to talk about. But sponsors. No. Somebody did mention that they were listening on Bose speakers. Can I suggest you just turn them down a tad? DI Met, you know the script by now. We ask you just to send in photographs of people you've met who have got something to do with Newcastle United. And Mozza, it was nice to meet you at the match. The seat that I've sat in for the last 5 or 6 years in the Platinum Club since I moved from the Gallagher has become a bit of a hive of activity. I've not only sat there with Keith this season and John and Peter Beardsley, but now Mozza. And I think that's got to be the best looking and the friendliest couple that I have met. Mozza and Mr. Mozza last week with the last home game. Absolute pleasure to meet you. And I can see you're very well behaved at the match as well. You weren't kicking me seat or messing me hair up or anything when Newcastle were scoring goals. So it was great to see you. Thanks for sending the photo over to us. A little bit different though, this one, and it's because he's a good friend of ours, Keith Gray. Sent us this photo, and this is fantastic, Keith. And it's nothing to do with Newcastle United, other than Keith's a big Newcastle fan. His son Woody is working on a New Breed of Criminal film with me as well. We're giving him a bit of work experience, so it's great to involve him. But Valuev, the fighter, the boxer, first fight in the UK. Keith had a meal with him, and it was, he just says, been good to have him on the bench with Mad Dog last night. He says, I was coming in at 6'2", super heavyweight, and he's 7 foot. He says, there it is, a blast from 1996. And putting your hands up against him there, like Keith, I reckon you could give him a fair go on the cobbles in the big market, mate. Definitely. But thanks for sending the photo in, mate. Brilliant stuff. As usual, ping a photo to me or the lads on Twitter, and we'll feature it on the DI Met. I'm going to read this one out because Gary put this in, and he spent so much time writing it, it would be rude to ignore it. He says, Steve, why are we getting opposing managers and players slating us now after games for our tactics? He says, we play 4-3-3 away from home and attack teams. Is the media biased against the Saudis, influence them? He also says, all this talk about long balls and time wasting. We wasted time for the last few minutes versus Liverpool. We were absolutely dead on our feet. It's really soured my opinion of Liverpool as a club, and of Pep Guardiola, who was spot on after defeats. So, interesting point. But we have touched on it a little bit. But, criticism of Newcastle's tactics, Mitch. I mean, Eddie Howe, when he came to the club, there was a lot of people moaning and groaning about him coming in as manager. People thinking that we're going to attract a Jose Mourinho or a Brendan Rodgers. But Eddie Howe came in. And I think one of the criticisms that was levelled at Eddie Howe was that at Bournemouth, his defensive record was pretty poor, especially in the last couple of seasons. But he's come in after having a bit of time off and a bit of, a bit of studying of his own game and his own tactics, etc. He's come back with a successful model because, We've had a fantastic run, if you count back end of last season and the start of this season, we are on a great run.
Based on one thing and one thing alone for me, work rate. Our work rate is second to none. Pep Guardiola talked about that before and after our game when he cut a reporter dead who said it must have been awful for you in that 20-minute spell when Newcastle went to 3-1. He says, awful? What do you mean awful? There's 2 teams in the game, and I think this is it. Look, we're fair game on anything, from the colour of our strip to whoever our new training ground sponsor might be, to in one case last season to how one of our owners looked because she didn't look as neat and well presented as she normally would, and anything's fair game for all of them. Anything is fair game for all of them, and they'll find anything to have a pop. I say Ollie Holtz took his head out from behind the recycling bins recently to have another pop recently about Saudi blood money. The same man who waxed lyrical about AJ's fight in Saudi. It's like, what the hell is... Oh, it's all kicking off downstairs. There you go.
Just like you some kind of dog fighting.
Yeah, it is.
Live from the kennels.
One of B's mates has just brought her dogs around, so they're all kicking off downstairs.
Live at Barbara Woodhouse's.
Oh my God, German Barbara Woodhouse's. Best think about it. So yeah, I mean, look, they'll have a pop at anything they can and use it as an excuse to beat me with another stick, because they've done it for the last 2 years, and they'll keep doing it. And so I think, again, we've got to choose our battles and pick them and learn what to let go. Anybody who knows a modicum about football, anybody who knows anything about football, can look at the work we do on the pitch and say this is a transformed team, and the manager and his tactics is just one part of it, but it's a very significant part of it. And if anybody tells you anything else, they're talking out their arse.
Steve, your views on all of that? It's a great point that he's made.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is. Every Newcastle fan has a target on his back now. No matter where you are in the world, somebody somewhere is gonna think they can have a pop at you about something that has nothing to do with you, that you have no influence over and you've had no say in. So it's just going to be part of the territory now. We're going to have to get used to it. We're growing thick skins very, very quickly. And that's as Mitch says, something we're gonna have to grow with, because the club's going places and certain people don't like it. You know what? I couldn't care less now. I mean, I've stopped watching the news because it's so depressing, and I've stopped reading certain newspapers at the back pages as well, because it's so politically depressing as well, that these people with agendas who, quite frankly, are so supercilious. And they're so patronising, and they are so disingenuous in what they say, because they don't realise that it doesn't take long for a Newcastle fan to just troll back through their social media accounts and through the articles that they've written, and they see something that only a couple of years ago totally contradicts their opinion now, and their opinion now simply because it's Newcastle United, simply because all of a sudden they've become guarantors for human rights, and they've become guarantors for sports washing, and to stand up against this so-called phrase of sports washing that they keep using. It's just not worth going there anymore. We've had a year of it. As you said, Steve, right at the very start of the program, in less than a month's time, it'll be exactly a year since the takeover happened on the 7th of October, and we'll probably celebrate it while the rest of the country will be sitting there going through the gritted teeth of various media outlets, and so what? We couldn't care. In fact, I think we should have a party for it, Steve.
Well, it is in the planning stages, Steve. I'm sure we'll have a catch up tomorrow at some point and have a chat about it. But I think NUFC Matters would like to have a little bit of a shindig. Me, Steve, and Keith certainly will be able to get together. Mitch, unfortunately, will probably be in another country. But I think it would be nice to have one with the NUFC Matters. And I know I've spoken to John about it, and just opening the doors to everyone who's a cult member, and maybe he's putting a little donation tin onto the food bank or something like that. But we'll definitely sort something out for the week of the 7th of October. And we'll do a little NUFC Matters get together. And if we don't get many wanting to go, we'll have it in a pub. But I think we should have some kind of get together for it.
We could have it in the snug. We could invite Oliver Holt, and he could have it in the snug in Coronation Street. You could bring his mother along.
Yeah, I think they'll be too busy doing a talking about sports washing, and there'll be a certain section of journalists all sitting together on a panel, probably sponsored by a particular fanzine, and I'm sure they'll all be very happy together. Keith, your views on Newcastle United's tactics?
On sports washing?
No, on the tactics. Not on sports washing. Not on this show. The guy was saying just about our tactics. They're being criticised, aren't they? It's just another bloody belt to hammer Newcastle with, isn't it?
I'll come on to the tactics because they're so blatantly obvious what the tactics are. They can't be debated. But it comes back to sports washing because everything that we criticised about is really gritted teeth, as Mitch pointed out, snarl at people who can't really handle what's happening in Newcastle United. But someone said to us this week that sports washing is defined in the Oxford Dictionary as a word that no football fan ever used or have even heard of until the Newcastle United takeover. They said the word is frequently used to deflect bitterness and jealousy. And it's used by football fans with a sheep mentality. And I think it's so true. And our tactics are, if you said to me, give us some names that sums our tactics up, I would say attacking. I'd say we attack. We attack when we haven't even got the ball. We press. We press in a way I've never seen in Newcastle side press for years. And the work rate, as Mitch touched on, so right. You can only attack and press teams if you've got work rate. And the work rate's there for all to see. And when you're getting the kinds of possessions we're getting against teams who would normally have given us sort of 75-25 in the past, that speaks volumes. But if you said to me, what do you see every time you see Newcastle play now? I see fighting, I see battling, and I see scrapping. I see never say die attitude. I see a team that Kevin Keegan's just spoken to. I see a team that Eddie Howe's obviously got working for him. But them lads, if you ever see Newcastle have a bit of a scrap, they all run in and they back each other up. There's just a massive camaraderie. And nobody can take it away from Newcastle that we not pump to bits, both fans, manager, coaches, players, we pump to bits. And we all playing front foot, aggressive football. And we're not supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to be playing backward football. Remember, our average is 24-25% for a game, but that's gone. We are a very forward playing football team now. And the football we play is marvellous to watch. You know, if you look at Isaac's 2 goals, both legitimate, they were wonderful goals. They were goals to grace any match. And it's going to come again. And tomorrow against Palace, I genuinely think it'll come again. I think whoever plays will grasp that same nettle and go at them. And I think when they get the ball, they'll not have as much time on the ball. So you can't criticise these tactics. You know, with respect, a blind man couldn't criticise what Newcastle are doing. Newcastle are pushing people. Now, you might not like the fact that we don't give you time to settle. You might not like the fact that we'll come in 2 foot, 1 foot, head, no, everything. But it's just full on 100%. But the people need to get over this and they get used to it and accept it's going to be the way we play. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I forgot that was the question because I was going to say that we've criticised, people have criticised Chris Wood. Chris Wood defends from the front.
I agree. No, I agree. He does. He definitely does.
Chris Wood does defence from the front. When we pick the ball up in the full-back areas, there's always somebody inside, whether it's a midfielder or whether it's a central defender. We then move, we give the ball and we move. The transition's perfect. The movement, we're breaking at speed, but we're breaking at speed in a controlled way. We're supporting each other when we're breaking. There's an outlet ball every time. ASM is now identified as an outlet ball. Then it's there for him to use, and he's starting to use it as well. All of those are new dynamics that have come in this last 6 months. Eddie Howe came in. He's tried something. He played around with the defence at times, whether we go 3 or whether we go 4. He was never too sure when he's central midfield, whether we need the 2 holding midfielders. And he was playing Longstaff and Shelvey together, or he was playing Shelvey much deeper, and then Bruno came. But he's gradually developed a pattern, but it's a versatile pattern. But what he also does is he tends to bring like for like in on his substitutions as well. And he seems to have, like, for example, he brings Fraser in because he wants to try something different, but it's the same in terms of we're taking a wide man off for a wide man off, but it's a wide man off who's willing to go and willing to run. And it's the same with Murphy. And it's all part of the plan. And that's what a good coach does. And you mentioned Guardiola. Guardiola's adapted his style. He's gone from suddenly playing like with no centre forward to playing a centre forward. He did it at Barcelona, where he brought in no centre forwards and no strikers whatsoever, and he played 6 in the midfield and gave them the opportunity to play. Everybody suddenly decides they're going to change, then all of a sudden Guardiola changes again, and he brings in 2 seasons ago centre forwards were dead and buried. Guardiola had killed the role of a centre forward. Now he's brought in the best centre forward in the world at 21, 22-year-old. And the odds on him getting another hat-trick tomorrow apparently are 14-1. And that'll be the 3rd hat-trick in a row. And Alan Shearer's sitting there going, Christ, he's only 21. He could break my record before Harry Kane does at this rate. You know, that's what good coaches do. And that's what Eddie Howe has blended himself into becoming a very, very good coach. And the players are working off it. The players are buying into it. And that goes again back to that statement that was made right at the very beginning about buying the right sort of temperament in players. And Eddie Howe, that's why certain players haven't come in during the window, because he doesn't think that they'll fit that temperament in terms of the work rate that he wants them and the attitude he's looking for on the pitch. That's what's good about Newcastle United at the moment. That's what excites me going to the match.
The word that Keith used is spot on, is press. And the only difference is we choose where we press. Sometimes in the game, it's what the equivalent of a basketball full court press. We've got our front men standing on top of the goalkeeper and defenders, making it difficult for them to take goal kicks even. Then sometimes it's sort of more of a three-quarter court that they let the back four have it and then press the minute they come to there. And sometimes it's a half court. They say, right, halfway line, you're going to have to do well to hurt you from there. But the minute you venture over the halfway line, you're going to have two people around you every time you play a ball. And I think that's exactly the word. It's press. It's that high press, high tempo. Well, work rate without the ball is probably harder than with the ball, and that's what's making it difficult for teams. Guardiola talks about the second ball against you, and Liverpool were whinging about the second ball against you. But instead of whinging, how about trying to win it?
Yeah,
exactly.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. Okay, it's the hour mark, which means that we give a shout out to our sponsors. Big thank you to you all for staying involved with NUFC Matters. Skips and Bins, our longest serving sponsor. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, who is with us for the month of September again. Independent funeral directors based at 304 Old Durham Road. Telephone 0191 478 2730 or website www.darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. And thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickies.co.uk or by telephone on 01768 210 102. Thanks to Away Day Clothing and thanks to Media Arts for the help with the video technology. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who do our website, nufcmatters.com. If you want to subscribe, hit the NUFC Matters badge in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up to like the video and click share to your social media. Drop in to iTunes, Spotify, or Podbean. If you want to get a podcast, listen to the podcast. They all get loaded up 24 hours after the show has been out. And don't forget, if you want to join in the chat or post a question up for me and the lads for the next hour, you can do that on YouTube. You can also become a member by clicking join underneath the video. If you go in by the website, though, you can get a cup, a pen, and a membership card and a scarf and become a cult member for a £25 one-off fee. And you can also use this QR code. If you've got a smartphone, it will take you straight there. Don't forget, I see a few of you have had your car stickers this week. If you want a free car sticker, you just need to email john@nufcmatters.com and he will post you one out. The food bank will be in place outside St. James's Park tomorrow. Steve Hasty and the gang will be across the road from Shearer's Bar if you've got a food donation. If you can't make it to the match tomorrow, then go to the website, nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation at the virtual match day bucket. The Dog and Parrot is where you will find Supermac tomorrow, 12:45. Malcolm will be there doing his pre-match talking, and 6:30 he will be there after the game. If you're a bit further down the town, you can catch John Gibson with John Anderson at Pumphrey's Bar in the Big Market. So get yourself down to Pumphrey's Bar if you want to see John and Gibbo. Always good crack. He'll be there from around about 12:30. Okay, I will plug this again. The film, I'm going to stick the link in the chat. Anybody can make a donation. Thank you to those who've made a donation tonight already. It's a film which I'm helping to produce. I've stuck the Indiegogo link in the chat. Anybody who can spare a £5 or more, stick it in the Indiegogo. I'll stick the link up a couple of times more tonight. Okay, I'm going to do John's quiz now. Now, as you know, we give a photo quiz each week. You have to write the clues down, and then we have the final one, which is this week, and then there will be an answer to that question. So John should be standing by. The first one was Zazon. The second one was silver medal winner 2020 Summer Olympics. The third one was Pamplona. And this clue, now I'm presuming there must be an answer to this, is 2nd of February, 1903.
John's
So,
birthday.
it's whose birthday?
John Jus's birthday.
Okay, now I haven't got a question, so I'm presuming there must be an answer to that. John hasn't sent us a question on WhatsApp, but there must be an answer to that. So if you know what the answer is, stick it in the chat. Well, it must be. Who is it? Yeah. So stick it in the chat. Stick your answer in the chat, and John will pick the winner. I'm not even sure what the prize is because John hasn't told us what the prize is, I don't think. But yeah, get back to us, John. Let me know, and we will announce the winner in due course. John says it's a new quiz this week. Well, I didn't have the fourth one, John. So I'm talking to John as I know he's watching the show. Did we have a winner last week, lads?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
No.
John's saying lol. John, that doesn't help, mate. Well, I always add the four photographs up. Is this a new quiz week? I don't know. I can't go back and watch the show, John. I'll have to take you on your judgment.
I can't recall seeing the date before.
I think John is wrong. So stick 1 in the chat if you think John's wrong. Stick 2 in the chat if you think Steve's wrong. These things happen on live TV, as they say.
While we're plugging stuff, there's a go-to site that nobody ever goes to called NUFC.co.uk, and they're running a competition this week. And you click onto it, and it's a competition that doesn't have a question, which is quite handy. Maybe John should try one of them. But it's an opportunity to meet Almiron, Bruno, Joe Linton, and Manquillo in the club shop on Tuesday. So if anybody wants to meet them, I'd say you're going to blow my chances of winning because it's a draw, actually. But I don't mind that because it's 4 to 5 on Tuesday. But if anybody does want to, or any of their kids want to try and get the opportunity to go along and get their photographs taken with some of the first team players, just go on to nufc.co.uk and enter yourself, So
okay, well, that's good. John's completely bamboozled himself. I wouldn't leave those pictures, John, in the chat unless if we completed it, I'd delete them all straight away. And the fact that there's only 3 pictures and not 4 pictures tells me that we need the next one from Zazon, silver medal winner 2020 Summer Olympics.
It's week 3.
And Pamplona. So we need the 4th and final clue, which is the question. And then we need the winner. That's where we're at, John. We don't need this. This is next week. Okay, so find the 4th one, John, and then tell us what we're winning, and I'll come back to that. And I was trying to do everybody a favour and try to do myself a favour because I need to clear a bit of space because I need to get through Tweet of the Week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Tweet of the Week. I've got that many. So apologies to those people who sent them in because we're not going to get them all in now because of this error, this admin error, I'm going to call it. Here we go, Tweet of the Week. Okay, Tweet of the Week. There's some plenty great ones. Southampton really did themselves proud over the course of the weekend when there was a 9-0 defeat, of course, handed out to them. First to send this one, then there was this one. Unbelievable, really, to think that a team would even put that on their social media to another Premier League club. I hope they saw the funny side. Ginger Perlo, interesting fact, Richarlison spends 83% of his life in this position.
That's quality.
It is, and it's true, isn't it? It is true. This one, every time I see him, I think the same, knackered. No, he's a great bloke, but Steve Cooper always looks like someone who's just woke up from a 5-day bender. It is true, though. He always does. He always looks that way.
When he walks on the pitch, he looks like he's just come out the shower every time.
Well, this one looks, as somebody's quite rightly said as well, looks like he's just on a 90s rave night. I mean, he's not blessed, is he? Unfortunately, the poor man with the best of looks like, and I'm sure we'll have more people selecting photographs of him throughout the season. Paul Kendrick, thoughts on the game, Steve? Our friend Steve Bruce. I'm glad I didn't have to pay to watch it, he said.
Unbelievable.
Oh, dear me.
For those of you not lucky enough to live in Birmingham, I must draw your attention to the 4 lads in jeans statue that was unveiled today. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This one is from Fire and Skill. I didn't know Buddy was West Ham. Like, all makes sense now, the little Raj. ICF on the ground. I do like these photo pictures. Another TV celebrity ruined by drugs and alcohol. This is Bungle from Rainbow, now living on the streets.
Brilliant.
And this one, Mowbray announced Sunderland AFC have finally announced Tony Mowbray, of course, as manager. Keith Holmes, Sunderland fan, sack them up at now before we go down.
Hadn't even started.
He hadn't even started then. This one, what should I do? My erection will not go down. Stop looking at your sister. Asked the Sandman to put a picture of Joe Linton in for my say, and it's fair to say they did not disappoint. That is brilliant. And just breaking news, John was wrong and I was right. So the prize is a Shearer 260 gift set. I'll come to that in a minute, and bear with us because now I've got to load this picture. John, what are you doing to us on a live show, causing complete pandemonium? Okay, so that's in. Right, I'll load that and I can come back to that. Here we go. Next tweet of the week. You don't need central heating. Very good. Become very apparent that as we hit towards winter. Mick Edmondson from the back page, National Football Museum, Manchester. The beautiful sight outside greets us. 2 lads wearing Newcastle United strips, playing football whilst dad referees. Geordie's here, Geordie's there, Geordie's everywhere. Fantastic that. And this one from Stephen Kennedy. New dating site open for our Mackham friend. It's called Just For You. And apparently fans and some players are flocking to it. And who can blame them with babes like Dolly here? Grow your own dope, plant a Mackham. I haven't seen that one for a while, but thanks for that one, Wayne. Looks a tad like hairy hands too, he says. And talk about somebody grown up in the Blue Peter era. This one from Toon Army USA. Reduce, reuse, recycle. So what he's done is he's took his callback strip, he's coloured in some of the letters, and there you go. He's got Isaac 14. This is what happens. This is what the cost of living crisis is doing, even in America. I did like that one. Alex Neil having his head turned by Stoke City's mascot. Ben Jacobs of this parish as well got a bit heated this week when he put a tweet out about St Maximin and got quoted as a Newcastle fan in the Daily Mail. That's his tweet there. The SNASM stands for Screamer. And then the headline, fans go wild for ASM's sublime technique for his outrageous volleyed equaliser at the death as Newcastle snatched a draw against Wolves. Yeah, funny that. I didn't notice that, Ben. Well done. Tim Krull, massive 3 points to take away from the stadium of Schleit. Great team effort to earn the clean sheet. We go again Tuesday versus Birmingham. Once a mag, always a mag. Paulie, good lad, goes on many a away trip. Good pal of mine. Eddie Howe's Black and White Army. I just selected this just because of the stuff that he's got there. Kinder Bueno, Haribo Star Mix, some Demay Raymond chicken, and some Actimel and a pint of lager. Slap bang in the middle of it.
That's classic Paulie.
That's what gets you. Go on.
You'll have tweeted that whilst wearing a shirt covered in cherries and luminous green trainers as well, probably.
Yeah, anybody who doesn't know Paulie, you won't miss him at an away game because literally he is the most let's say outlandish. Is that the right word? He stands out.
Flamboyantly dressed, I think.
That is the best way to describe it, mate. Flamboyantly dressed, 100%.
Most flamboyantly dressed since Malcolm Allison.
Yes, without the fedora. If you didn't hear it from the horse's mouth, stop listening to the ass who told you. That was Stephen Kennedy's outlook after watching a few of those in the no accounts during the transfer window, which is very good. And you know me, I like to pick out the pictures. I love this tweet from 90s football. Alan Shearer through the ages in Panini sticker style, which was brilliant. This one from Ian Edgar. As he keeps saying, Keith, they are the gift that keeps on giving. Pochettino would signal some ambition. That was when Sunderland through and through were trying to find out who their next manager was going to be. It wouldn't be ambition for Pochettino to go down there. Breaking news, a man who took an airline company to court after his luggage went missing has lost his case. Cheers, Wayne. And you can take the man out of Sunderland, but you can't take Sunderland out of the man. No, before anybody starts, that's not me or Keith. I thought it was weird when they put this up, says Jake Buckley, until Liverpool scores. Very good. And this one from Wayne as well. Then what's the bloody point, he says. Alcohol purchased in W.H. Smith, can it be consumed anywhere inside or outside the premises? Why bother buying it? Exactly. This one from M. For those of you, we've already seen that one. And that one, this one from Kieran Dre on Instagram. Lee Mason at Molineux today for the Newcastle penalty decision. Yeah.
Quality.
And thanks to Paul, who was featured on the show the other week when he ordered from DH Gate. Other Snide top places are available. He was the one who got the Everton tops through. And he obviously heard us mention them. He says, well, he's finally hit the jackpot and received his top. And I think that's great news, Paul. Fantastic news. Great to hear that it's finally arrived. Sorry that you've had a bit of a nightmare. And this one, Sean Koundé is now registered with Barca. Is there a reason that is now possible without the sales of wage reductions that were being talked about a few days ago? Genuine question, might have missed something. Alex Hilton's reply was, the cleaning lady has agreed to work for free for the rest of her life. Joe Early, with everyone needing visas and work permits now, Pretty Patel is the new Fabrizio Romano for signing announcements. And Adam P featuring here. Newcastle United in the no accounts don't stand a chance when I'm dropping exclusive information. Hi, Adam. Why was Wilson at the station? To go on a train. Alan Little, thanks for this one. I didn't include this in the lookalikes, but Newcastle fans on the way today. He says, Eddie Howe on the cans and travelling with Magpie Travel. Just look like him, actually. This one from Mick Gilchrist. He says, Tweet of the Week contender. Imagine the Nottingham Forest summer signings doing their initiation songs in the hotel the night before the next away game. It'll be like Live Aid. Very, very true. And this one, Rob Vasey, Nottingham Forest new team bus has arrived at the City Ground. Yeah, ridiculous amount of players. Timmy Mallet making a feature in here. I never thought I'd ever say that. Thinking about brave Mikhail Gorbachev and how his perestroika and glasnost inspired our wackaday fun trip to Russia in 1990. To explain glasnost, I stepped out of the shadows into the light and entertained Red Square with Mallet's Mallet. Thank you, Gorby. I'm sure that went down in his memoirs. Big Frank Chipperfield. Hi, Aston Villa. I'm not an Aston Villa fan and I haven't watched any Villa games, but I really like Gerrard as a person and he was good in Scotland, so I think he needs more time. Thanks. Brilliant. Thanks for that one, Zara. The Newcastle United steam train has left the station and the rest of are rattled. Yes, we are coming, and I think that's a point we've made a couple of times on this show. I told you about a few of these. I feel I've crammed a lot into my 36 years. A 10 out of 10 wife, 3 beautiful academically gifted children, and a dream job. But today I feel like my life has peaked when I scored an overhead scissors kick on FIFA 22 whilst Live Forever by Oasis was blasting out of Alexa. A truly euphoric moment, said Festival. Last few, Vocal Hero. NUFC fans were just happy someone washed the dead pigeon off the roof. Also, some NUFC fans, I can't believe Eddie would go into a season without 2 world-class players in each position. We've only spent 120 million and smashed our transfer record. This is gross negligence. Yeah, summing up the stupidity of some. My life was just at an all-time low. I walked into the shop wearing my United top and a boy, no older than 6, went 9-0. All I could think of was to call him a virgin in front of his mum and the lady working at the till. Cheers, boys. Dad jokes. We'll be getting Ian Mearns back on at some point. Job interviewer, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Me. I'd say my biggest weakness is listening. And John Hamilton, I tweeted that Everton should pay whatever it takes to sign Nuno Betancourt. Loads of Twitter blues agreed with me, despite him being the 55-year-old guitarist with Extreme. Jan Olga Fjortoft, Liverpool scoring 9, no Salah goal. Reminds me, with Swindon, we lost 7-1 at Newcastle. In the bus, our captain, Sean Taylor, said, well, Andy Cole didn't score. Had to reply, well, every other player at Newcastle did. And another one who's come up with a unique opportunity to save money. Lots of them flying around. This one, Merrick Robertson said, it's that time again. Recently promoted 3rd Division minnows, Sunderland have offered David Platt the manager's job. While he's very flattered by the offer, he doesn't want to leave Coronation Street. Yeah, Merrick tends to put that up all the time. When I'm blocked, but I've got a second account. I will keep the person's identity hidden for that one. Sean, why does Wraith's head pop up when I click on the video? Very, very weird, that. Very weird. I did like this one, thanks to Richard, who is the director of the film I'm doing. I did a film from the start of the year. That was in his local pub when I was up on the karaoke.
Oh, dear me.
Oh, dear.
Yes, they don't do karaoke in that pub.
No.
Rich Oliver says, does Gabriel Jesus have Jesus on his shirt to ensure people don't get him mixed up with the actual Jesus? He then apologised for having a Stella and being alone with his thoughts. And Bournemouth plan of keeping Mo Salah quiet has worked an absolute treat, said Ginger Perlo. And the West Brom fans now starting to realise that, yes, we were right.
Exactly.
West Brom. And last three, Leanne Sanderson, 9-0 in the men's game seems to equal great performance. Absolutely, in the women's game, for some it equals poor goalkeeping, and women's football is rubbish. Oh, the double standard. How ironic. Last couple here. Bloody Gina G is a better manager than Stevie G, says this disappointed Aston Villa fan. But his reply was brilliant. Only a little bit.
Great.
And another Mishu also hates the Mags. Adam Pearson again featuring. I had to click onto your profile to find out which one was the Sunderland player. Very funny, Adam. Very good. Very true. Because I wouldn't have been able to tell either. And a final message from Sky. Dear Sky customer, please be aware that all Manchester United games will now be shown on the Cartoon Network, Channel 301. In order to make way for more serious games, we apologise for any inconvenience this may cause from the Sky team. Brilliant stuff. Keep them coming in. We always like seeing them. Keep them coming in. Tweet of the week. Keith, I'm going to start with this because it was addressed to you. We'll go around the board with it, though. Do you think at some point we're going to have to start paying over 100k in wages to really kick on? Because that's one of the things that's been mentioned a little bit in the whole transfer window, that Newcastle have got a wage structure. We don't know what people are getting paid. I think the only time we ever find out is if a player's in court and we know that they've been fined 2 weeks' wages. And I think then we can realistically say, well, that person is definitely on that. But wage structure, is it there to be broken at some point?
The short answer is yes. And the short answer is we cannot keep it there. But right now, if it's to be believed, I don't know what Isaac's on, but from a decent source, I got told that Trippier's the highest paid on 108. That Joe Linton's on 105. And Bruno's on just slightly less. So if you took them people and said they're circa 100,000, and let's suppose you took some like Tielemans, or a better player to take would take Wijnaldum, because everybody thought that Wijnaldum could do something for our midfield. He's a good player. He's got that experience. So if you put Wijnaldum in, when he left PSG, his wages were quoted at 220,000 a week. When he went to, did he go to Italy? I think he got
to Roma.
Yeah, he went to Roma, and the rumour is because there was no fee involved, he got 250,000 a week. So, put that in perspective. What's that going to give you? 12.5 million a year in wages. So when you look at it like that, he's not getting a fee if you're such. You've got to ask, is Wijnaldum worth that money? I think the answer to Newcastle is, if we're going to break that barrier, but think about it, Wijnaldum wouldn't have come, because a lot of people said, we should get him. He wouldn't have come to Newcastle for remotely close to 200,000 a week. He set his stall out. He's on 2.25, and he wants 2.5 because he's a free transfer. If you look at Lingard, there's the debate of what he's getting, what he's not getting. It was pretty much agreed that he wouldn't budge for less than 150, and some said 200. So that's 7.5 to 10 million a year, depending on how you look at it. But Lingard negotiates a contract whereby at the end of the season, Lingard gets another shot at a free transfer because he's got a contract with Notts Forest, and all that contract allows him to do is at the end of the season is renegotiate. So these are the kind of wages that's out there. When we went look with some reputedly looking at like Havertz or whatever they call him, the Mexican lad, Chelsea bid 50 odd million and they just turned it down. So we're probably never in the ballpark to get that lad. Like right now, that's probably beyond our stretch. But all these players, look at the Barcelona's wage list, look at the lowest paid person at PSG and the lowest at Barcelona, and they're on over 200,000 a week. So when you've got players who are good enough to get in the Barcelona squad, and people I think is good enough to get in Barcelona, I think it's Trippier, I think it's Joe Linton, I think is Bruno, I think all of them are. They're currently circa 100,000. So you're not going to keep them because they know what the rates are. You're going to have to up them. But I think what Newcastle are doing, they're doing a commercially viable exercise where Newcastle will pay them wages as and when we've got some European funding. So if we get European funding, which typically 80 to 125 million a year extra, that's when you'll turn around and say we can afford to put X millions into the players pot. But I think until you get there, bear in mind we only avoided relegation and finished, just round about mid-table last year. It's probably the wrong time to whop all your salaries up. And if you just gave ASM, Botman, Trippier, Joe Linton, and Bruno an extra 100,000 a week, that's 600,000 a year. If 6 of them get 100,000, 600,000 a year, that's equivalent to 30 million. And that's like bringing Derek Sakaria in for nothing. So I think they're doing it spot on. I think they've done right to come away from the Tielemans kind of deals, because I don't think his contribution would have surpassed annoying 6 players as much as I would like him. I think he would make a significant contribution, but I think it's got to be where the other players are edged up. The ones who's on 100 go to like 140, and maybe you put one player in there that comes in a bigger money. But I think when you bring players in that smash wage structures, you talk of the likes of Haaland, you talk of players that are undoubtedly world class, and I think that's why we've gone for an Isak kind of player that hasn't quite hit the level. He's 22. He shows masses of potential, but he's not going to demand 200,000 a week. So the answer is yes, it's coming. No, you won't be able to afford it, but you've got to do it when you've got another fund that justifies that for financial fair play and for the sake of running a commercial entity.
Steve, your take on breaking the wage structure?
Yes, we will. Of course we will. Bound to happen. But as Keith says, it's going to have to be done with a plan in mind. And the plan has to be geared to success. It has to be geared to the commercial success that the club has, both on the pitch and off the pitch. The commercial success that hopefully the new commercial department at Newcastle United can kick into gear rather than the commercial department I have at the moment, which basically just sits on its backside because we've got so few commercial deals ongoing, whether that's commercial deals to do with kit or commercial deals to do with kit sponsorship.
We've lost him again. Steve, your internet's terrible tonight.
Either.
He is, he's definitely having issues. Go on then, Mitch. Are we going to break the wage structure?
Yeah, again, the short answer is yes. But, to expand on that, that's what Darren Eales has been brought in for. He's been brought in to ensure the commercial side of things gets to the next level. That then allows Dan Ashworth and the recruitment team to deliver the unicorns that Eddie Howe's looking for, and at the right kind of prices and the right kind of wages. And that then allows us as a club to revisit the wage structure once we're in a position to start to sign some of these players. And so it's all got to be done with a plan in mind and Dunhill made the point really well. Jimmy's making a really good point there as well. There's going to be changes in UEFA's FFP rules. They're going to have a knock-on effect as well. We've got to always be doing this with one eye on the seemingly moving target we're being given to hit time and time again, because everybody's shitting their pants for when we suddenly get there. They're trying to make the journey to get there as hard as possible for us at the minute, it seems. And so I've never been one for conspiracy theories, but the more it goes on, the more that's what it feels like. And so we're lucky in that we're getting the right people in the place that are going to allow this to happen slowly, organically, and in the right way. Just going along and doing what Forest are doing and not seemingly give a care and dropping the big one left, right and centre is a crazy, crazy, unsustainable way of doing it, and will end in tears for any football club. And so they're doing it the right way, we're doing it the right way, and yes, of course it'll happen, but it'll happen at the right time for us, and that's the most important bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve, you got cut off on your prime.
I just put up a little website here, just having a look, because we're talking about European clubs and they're talking Mitch's. It segues really closely into what Mitch is saying. And this is Barcelona, right? Gerard Piqué, €1 million a week. De Jong, €720,000. Busquets, €711,000. Jordi Alba, €400,000. You go down the list, then you get to Rafinha, who's just gone
from Leeds,
€240,000. Dembele at 230. Aubameyang, who's just gone to Liverpool to Chelsea, he was on, according to this site, he was on €220,000. Then you carry on going down the list. Martin Braithwaite was on 115,000. Martin Braithwaite is the richest footballer in the world. He's got property in America that puts him way beyond anything that even Ronaldo's got. But even Memphis Depay, who was supposedly, another player who was going to get a free from there and potentially come to Newcastle, according to In the Nose earlier in the week, was on, or still is, on over €200,000. That's what we're competing against. And do any of those players actually worth that amount of money at the moment? Certainly not worth it in Newcastle United to bankrupt were, and people will say we're the richest club. But when we start to have a commercial department that can generate the income, when we start to compete in Europe, when the big TV European money comes in, then we'll start to compete. What will be interesting is to see what happens in the Premier League when one of the top so-called six doesn't make it again into the Champions League, whether that's Chelsea or whether it's Arsenal again, or whether it's Liverpool in the form that they're showing, and the amount of money that they're lashing out on players, because it's at that point that those owners will suddenly go, whoa, what's going on? We're paying these ridiculous amount of wages. I'd far better to be in our position where we're paying players a certain amount of money, and then we start to go and we start going up the ladder. And then instead of having to have the panic of sitting on the top of the ladder and worrying in case you're going to end up coming down with everything that entails. So again, we've got the patience. We'll persevere. And you know what? These so-called superstars, there's no way that they're worth the amount of money that the clubs like Barcelona are lashing out on them. Absolutely not. And they might have been bought by Americans, but they've been bought by Americans who now think they're back in Hollywood when it comes to Chelsea and the sort of money that they must be throwing at some of the players that they've been signing recently. And I've been listening to a lot of Chelsea fans over the last couple of weeks, and they are so disappointed with the quality of football that having to watch, to be perfectly honest, and with the superstars. And that's the added pressure that comes, because when those players aren't performing, as they haven't been at Chelsea, as individuals and sometimes collectively for an awful long time, then you suddenly see a totally different amount of pressure being built on a football club.
Yeah, okay. Lots of people asking, before we get to looking ahead to the Palace game, why didn't we go into the loan market with the squad being so thin? Mitch, I mean, listening to Eddie Howe, it's simple, isn't it, really? Teams started to close shop, didn't want to help us. And the likes of Leeds and Leicester and Watford were making it difficult for players to leave. And I thought the touch of class from Eddie Howe was, when he was asked about, not individuals, he just said those players need to knuckle down. Those players that it didn't happen for need to knuckle down. And the gap between the two transfer windows is rather short. So gives an impression that he may well go back for the likes of Pedro or Harrison.
Yeah, may do. But if that phrase for me says it all, that we've got this situation where he's made it very, very clear to anybody, he's not minced these words in any way, that there's been a concerted effort during this window to not help us, or not to be seen to be helping us. And therefore, if that's how they want to play it, they're not going to loan the players. We're going to have to find our loans from other places. And do we take a player that may improve the squad on loan? Or does he work with what he's got and say, look, I like the vibe in my squad and I'll keep everybody together? And I think we all know how we'll go in that situation. Because he does seem to back his players and back his squad very, very hard. And so, it's going to be an interesting few weeks up to the World Cup, and then when the next window opens. And let's not forget, we're only 13 games away from the next window because of the timing of the World Cup. And I think that's probably has affected the thinking. If it was more like 18 games or 19 games to the next window, like it normally would be, because we're not getting a flurry of games in December because it's World Cup time. So we're going to be in a position where after the new year, there's going to be more games and more points to play for, and therefore they've probably said, you know what, let's shut up shop for this window and we'll look forward to the next window and we'll remove what we have. And if there's a reluctance for anybody to be seen to be helping, we'll log it, we'll note it, and remember for the next window. And I'm really glad we haven't paid a Newcastle tax on anybody either, because I'm very determined that we're not seen to be bowing to that pressure and letting people pull their pants down. I'd rather run with the squad we have than have any of that happening as well.
Steve?
You know what? When you enter into the last week of the transfer window, when your sporting director / director of football is travelling around the country, looking at signings, speaking to people, trying to get deals over the line, and then he comes back to Newcastle and he starts talking to the press, and you hear alleged quotes from him that say Eddie's only looking for the players with the right temperament. That's not a pop at Eddie Howe. That's a pop at the players that he's been talking to and saying, you know what, you could well have just missed the boat for Newcastle United, son. You could have been part of Newcastle United for the next 5 years, but you know what? Your attitude and your attitude of your advisors perhaps tells me that maybe you're not right at the moment. So go away, have a think about it. You never know. We might come back in January and we might have a little quiet word. We might see whether or not we're interested in you. Never mind you being interested or not interested in us. And you know what? If they have missed the boat, who cares? Not us. Just them. They're the ones whose boat they're missing. You know, we'll move on. Our boat will sail down that river, and it'll come back up the river with far, far better players than the ones that thought perhaps they could try and milk it and squeeze our nuts a little bit. They've missed out. That's what for me, what the director of football was saying when he made that little statement on Tuesday and Wednesday, when it was quoted by certain people in the press who said that, you know, that he's, because it was all made, I think, in the way that some of the press picked up on. It was to imply that there was an issue between him and Eddie Howe, and that Eddie Howe's station was that he was looking for players that really were unattainable for him and making it difficult. Let's look at it the other way, and let's say, no, what he's saying, he's sending a message to those players and their advisors. Sorry, lad, you just missed the boat with your attitude.
Keith, your take on it, mate?
What, on the failure to recruit a DM and a right winger? I think
just loan players, even, you know, not venturing into the loan market.
I think you know, I quoted one on Twitter and said I put a clip on and a video on of Dennis Zakaria, who plays for or Zakaria, how you want to pronounce him. He plays for Juventus, and I think what happens is you get all these rumours, and I think we genuinely did make a bid for Havertz from the Mexican lad from Ajax, but when we bid 40 million for him, that was like last Friday night, and we were buzzing. We thought, oh, I've got a hell of a chance of getting him. We've got a full week before the window. You know, like there's plenty of time we can get him. Like a week ago, we've got sort of 5 days left before the window. But then when you hear we've bid 40 and they've just told Chelsea to get stuffed at 50, we're not really in the mix for him. You know, we're never going to get that player. And when you go after Zakaria, I know Newcastle did look at him and did make contact. The Kraken source told us that. But I tweeted it that day. I said, have a look at this lad. He would do great in the defensive midfield. But you've got to remember, he's comparing us with Chelsea. That's where he's ended up. And he's got a deal off Chelsea. And you know yourself that if Aubameyang goes to Barcelona, he's on €220,000 a week. He's not come back to Chelsea for 205. He wants 240 or 250. And Chelsea were desperate for him. The only thing that stopped Chelsea getting him was the bid. So when we've looked at players like Zakaria, who's gone to Chelsea on a loan deal, which is what we're asking, he's coming to Newcastle on the chance of a loan deal on circa 100, 120,000 a week tops. Or he goes to Chelsea for 220 or 240. We're about halfway behind. I mean, Notts Forest's got a bigger wage level than us. Notts Forest's wage level, by taking Lingard in, they've got a higher paid person on their books than Newcastle have. So you just got to accept that we probably have tried to get all these players. You know what I mean? I don't believe anybody, Amanda and me, Dad, were down in Chelsea in the director's box, and the room was trying to get, like Pulisic or Gallagher, Brozier, those kind of players at Newcastle on loan. And right at the end, I was really confident that we would get a loan deal out of Chelsea. But we never got anything because Chelsea was so hell-bent on bringing in Aubameyang and bringing in Zakaria and bringing in... Chelsea made 3 big signings in the last year. So they weren't worried about offloading theirs because I'll tell you something, when you're talking about managers, you're talking about Eddie Howe and you're talking about Tuchel, there's only one of them under pressure to lose his job. The only one out of them that could lose his job. And some of the things he's put out this week, Tuchel, was probably as bad as anything the lad at Bournemouth put out. You know, so he was putting things out saying, I've said for a long time, we need more players in. Look at the wage he's got. Look at the people he's got in. So I think Newcastle have gone for the loan deals. I think they did try and get a DM and a right winger, and I just don't think they're available. And I think the people that they brought in, I think Chelsea was our avenue to get the right kind of loan deal. But on the foreign markets, I think they paid on too much money, as Steve Hasty has just eloquently run through a list here. And there's somebody just put on the tweet there to say that Barcelona's debt now runs at 1.2 billion. I mean, that's mega debt. So I think we've gone after them, and I just don't think we in the ballpark on wages yet. And I think for the right reasons. And I think that we've just had to see what we've got. Yeah,
the added equation.
Information.
Go on.
Sorry, Steve. I know, saying to keep that, you know, there was certainly information that you, Steve, and Stu and I were party to right on the last day of the transfer season. We knew there was still potential activity there.
Yeah.
And so that it wasn't for, it's certainly in my case, I'll never say it was for the lack of trying. I think there was a lot of effort made for it. But it's quite clear that it was never really going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's Howe's words.
And I think it's wages.
The added part of it, Keith, as well. The added part of the equation is that when you take a loan player, you have to take that player and pay him what he's getting as part of his contract with his loaned club. Yeah. So any Chelsea player on 250 grand a week, like Pulisic, for example, you'd have to match his wages, or you'd have to have a deal with Chelsea that says you pay half, so that you don't break your own wage structure. That's right. So that's the added sort of issue that you have. And if you have currently have clubs that are not wanting to play with Newcastle United and they don't want to be involved with us, that makes it doubly difficult. The European side, again, the fact that the lad you're talking about came from Juventus. He's not popular at Juventus. They wanted him out anyway. They've struck quite a really good deal because they're almost guaranteed the 30 million, and it's probably they've got him off the wage structure, which they're happy about, which helps them. But it also means that next year they've got 30 million coming in. So we
weren't in the ballpark. We weren't able. If he's got Chelsea Champions League, the Newcastle non-Champions League, Chelsea 200 plus thousand a week, Newcastle 100. There's only one place he's going in there. You know, so I think we have looked, Steve, as Mitch has said. I think we know those deals being tried, But I quoted him on Twitter. If you go on my tweets, you'll see I put Dennis Zakaria on, and I got told from good source that we've made an approach to that lad today. But I get excited because I'm a fan. But then when you work out what these guys are on and what these clubs will pay them, we're not really in the ballpark. When you go
and talk to these players, and then you suddenly find out, Christ, he is on 150 grand a week. And that's when you go, well, if you want to sign for us, lad, you're going to have to drop to about 100 because we've got a wage structure. At that point, then you suddenly realise what sort of the player's attitude is and what his mental attitude is, which is, I'm not prepared to come. I'm not prepared to be part of that. I want to come for the money only. And that's the bit that Dan Ashworth goes, you know what, your attitude stinks because 2 seasons' time, you could have doubled your money with us if you're willing to play ball with us.
If you look at Newcastle now and you look at the way we played against Liverpool and what them people did at Liverpool, the way they competed, and you ask yourself a question, would you smash the Newcastle wage structure by 50%? Because the minimum money Lingard's on is 150 a week, minimum 150 bog standard. Would you smash 6 players' contracts and put Lingard on 50,000 more than our top earners? I wouldn't give him the same. I wouldn't put him on the same money.
Great points. Great points, well made, lads. 15 minutes to go. Time for Elliot. Elliot's joke of the week. I've decided from Monday that I'll stop using spray deodorants. Roll on next week.
Oh, dear me, Elliot.
Very good. And keeping in the humorous mood, time for Toon Lookalike. Toon Lookalike, where... Start with Steve Hasty. Thanks, Albert. Very good, Albert, getting into the swing of things nice and early there. From Rita Roxley, she went, tell Steve Hasty I'm sorry. And then she put a one up of Isaac and Chris Rock just to overshadow the Steve Hasty one. This one from Andy Cooper, he says, Toon Lookalike, Steve Rich, Jody Dennis, Hasty making an effort for a night out. And this one, can you see a famous person?
Oh, can I?
Einstein.
Steve Hasty.
Einstein.
And this one, last one of Steve Hasty this week was sent in by 2 people. Very good, this one. Very good. Mr. Hasty is now set in stone. Stephen Kennedy, Rod the Mod. No, surely it's Steve Hasty. You're now getting compared to like rocks and stuff, Steve. That's brilliant. Like,
not brilliant at all.
I think it's got the mouth wrong. There we go then. Lookalike from Tom Dixon. The Telosians from Star Trek and David Vaughan. Spenny Mag sent this one. The Library and the Cop. See what you did there, Spenny. Klopp and Bingo from the Banana Splits.
Oh, that's good, that one. Well done.
That's from Rita. And this one from Tom, Sidney Poitier and Stefan Sessignon.
Wow.
Good. Very good. Brilliant.
Leo DiCaprio and Sebastian Larson from Tom Dixon as well.
Yes. Ex-Sunderland.
And from Mark Byers, who is watching live tonight for the last time. Good luck on your new job, mate. It was a pleasure to meet you and your wonderful family when you were over for the last game, mate. Absolutely brilliant to meet you. I see that one. By the way, who is that girl? She was doing transfer deadline day.
That's Leanne Sanderson.
Leanne Sanderson, yeah.
That's her who was coming, right? Okay, I've got no idea who she is. I don't watch women's football. Gary Douglas, lookalike, but do not feed after midnight. Tony Mowbray and Bella Remberg.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit of Steve Hasty as well, to be fair. My mate from Smooth and Tyrrell, Peter Beardsley Jr., having the time of his life in the middle. This was brilliant. It's a video on Fitbar Patter. Maradona spotted training at Dundee United.
So that's fantastic.
The video is even better. It's so like him. This one from Rita as well. Keith and Noel Gallagher. And David De Gea and Hans Klopek from the Burbs.
Pop stars, film stars. Don't mind the
film stars. Mark Bayer says, one for the day I met on Friday's Three Amigos. Barry Vanison, Tamiri Ketz-Bayer and Malcolm MacDonald. Put it in the lookalikes, Mark. Crash Bandicoot and the referee would do better than the referee, you reckon, which isn't wrong. Albert then was up to his old skills while I was travelling to the Liverpool the Wolves game. Enjoy the game, Uncle Albert. He says, thanks for that, Albert. Steve Cooper. He's getting some hammering this week, Cooper, isn't he? Jimmy Wilson said, look alike in my eyes to Kieran Trippier and Brian Kilclain, but he also sent, imagine doing this for a disallowed goal. The Wolves will get the old telescope out. This on a poster, the William and Sophia show. He says, new business venture, Steve Wraith. Yeah, I can see that on the left. Very good. And this one was doing the rounds a couple of times as well. Spenny sent it over. That young character and Richard Keys. I think I've had that one before. Albert again. Our 5 OAP amigos. Welcome our new signing.
Can you say that with all the
Yeah.
It's only hasty.
Beards and just left me as normal.
No, he's always trying to make us as old as you.
I guess I did like this. I mean, I had to take a double take as to who this actually was when he was on the game. Of course, it's Mickey Gray, the former Sunderland player, who was commenting on the. It's Mickey Gray.
He looks like Klopp.
Bloody hell, it is,
I mean, that is brilliant. He looks like
he's had his teeth done just as bad as well. They're awful. Right,
okay. Coming down to the last few, 100% Mags. Can you go to 100% Mags, please, as well? He's got some kind of competition running. Sorry, mate, I only caught it. I retweeted it for you, but you must have wanted to shout it on the show. If you follow him on Twitter at 100% Mags, click onto whatever link he's got. He's running some competition to give away Bruno shirt, I think. Just a new shirt with Bruno on the back, I think. But yeah, thanks for your lookalike. Eddie Murphy, actor Daniel Kaluuya, and Alexander Isak. Yep, I can see the similarities there. Grant Thurloway, lookalike. Yeah, very good. Sunderland in dire straits last weekend, but had a good result midweek. Thanks to John for this one. A journalist asked Bosnian basketball player Nihad Dedovic if he was related to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He says, no, but my father has never been to Sweden. Zlatan replied, but my father has been to Bosnia.
Right.
Awkward. Peter Clennell says, I bet the evil twin of Steve Wraith is a bit happier this weekend compared to the last couple. Yeah, he's starting to look more and more like me. And that's Phil Jeffries on the right, I'm sure. This one, Dottie C. Lookalike, I wonder who let go. Finger sniffer. Better out than in. Who hasn't cupcaked? Bruce Willis and Keith. And last few, bloody hell, Ryan Fraser and Sam Fender getting a run out for Blythe Spartans, says Albert.
Class.
In this good look like that. Dan, day out in York, and it's sad to see Keith Patterson falling on hard times. That's obviously in the Jorvik. Out of context, Newcastle United sent us this one.
Looks like Vera.
It does look like Vera. It's Home Alone, I think. Lookalike again.
That's good, that.
Mother Teresa and one of the Chuckle brothers.
That's class.
Into the top 3. Stephen Kennedy. Creepy lookalike. This poor woman and Hannibal Lecter.
Bloody hell. She's a ringer. She's a ringer.
Number 2.
Wow.
Very good. Very good.
That's terrible.
It is, yeah. And the winner this week. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Thomas. Absolutely brilliant. Freddy Krueger and Anthony Gordon. He gets worse, doesn't it? It does get worse. John, I'm not putting this up for the food bank, but there you go. He did do it. Newcastle were robbed, Andy. Seal of approval. from two knobheads.
Right.
We will get hung, drawn, and slaughtered if I put that on Twitter, mate.
Yeah.
And we've only had a £2 bid, and I don't even think it's serious for that one. And you know what, John? I think people just don't want to walk around with a T-shirt with a Sunderland badge on, if I'm perfectly honest. So I think we might knock that one on the head, unless somebody wants to make a bid on me Twitter in the next 15 minutes, just out of generosity for the food bank. Then that one will probably get put in the bin, John, because nobody wants to walk around with a Sunderland badge on, I think. Okay, we've got 5 minutes to run through the game tomorrow. So I do have as well to get through the Toon Stato and Toon Tipster. Luckily, Joe isn't here. He's having a bit of time away with the family tonight. So, Toon Stato.
Hello guys, I'm just back in Bulgaria from Anfield, where I saw live Alexander Isak becoming the 12th Newcastle player to score on his debut in the Premier League. Chronologically, first was Alex Matti, second was Sir Les Ferdinand, third was Stefan Givarsh, fourth was Duncan Ferguson, then followed Xisco, Papi Cisse, Jorginho Wijnaldum, Matti Longstaff with that famous goal against Man United, which I was lucky enough also to see live at St. James's Park. And then, of course, you have some of the players that are still in the current team, like Callum Wilson and Jeff Hendrick scoring on their debut, Joe Willock scoring on his debut, and now, as I mentioned, Alexander Isak. We played Crystal Palace at home on Saturday. It's a mixed bag against them in the Premier League. We have 6 wins at St. James's Park, with 2 draws and 3 defeats. The funny thing is that our last 5 wins against Crystal Palace at St. James's Park were all with 1-0 score. As you remember, famously, Miguel Almiron scored his first ever goal in a 1-0 win against them. And he delivered the win also last season with his wonder goal, which won Goal of the Month in April. Newcastle are unbeaten or almost unbeaten at St. James's Park since mid-December when we lost to Man City. The only defeat coming to Liverpool in April. This is only 1 defeat since December and we are already in September. So it's Fortress St. James's again. And let's see if Alexander Isak can deliver his magic on Saturday. Away the lad.
Brilliant.
Brilliant stuff as always from Andre. And we might as well play the music even though he's not here. Evening Colts, spending some quality time with my girls before they sod off back to school and I can put some real holidays in at work. After a gutting result midweek at the home of the EPL, or Anfield as it's known these days, we return to Gallagher for what could be another exciting home game. Newcastle are evens, the draw is 12-5 and Palace are a huge 3-1. Goals in the game are well fancied, with Isak favourite to score anytime at 7-4 and 50-1 for the hat-trick, 10-1 if you think he'll score twice. 1-0, 7-1, 2-0, 9-1, 3-1, 18-1, a draw at 1-1, 6-1, and a 1-0 reverse, 11-1. Food Bank is still £75 in the pot. This week, Isaac to score at 7-4 and Joe Linton to be carded at 3-1. Tickle, all draws in the 3 o'clocks, 3,000-1. Over 1.5 goals in all Premier League games, 8-1. Super 6, massive congratulations to our first manager of the month, which is Ryan Martin, who topped it with an incredible 61 points. Great effort. You need to contact John Justice Allen and the prize will be on its way, mate. He finished the month higher than the Matters presenters, but he won't go on about it much. See you in the club on Monday, and that is from Joe the Toon Tipster. So, Mitch, lucky dice, did you take in the Germany?
No, not travelling with us today.
Right, so we're going to have to go for a genuine prediction.
Genuine prediction. And I'll go with the odd goal in 3 to us, 2-1 to us. I think they're organised. I think they've played well in the games I've seen them play this season. They certainly won't come to St James's Park and roll over. They were very well organised against Liverpool. They showed that. And so I think it won't be a straightforward game, but I think we've got enough class in the side as it stands, and maybe with some more to come back and return to take the game, take the 3 points.
Okay, whilst I'm going to Steve Hasty on this, I'm going to predict 2-0. Just a reminder, your clues were Zazon, silver medal winner, 2020 Summer Olympics, Pamplona, and that one. This is your question for this week. The player suggested in previous clues played for which team in 2016-2017 season? The player suggested in previous clues played for which team in 2016-2017 season? First answer in the chat that John sees. You'll be the winner. And John, let me know by WhatsApp, please. So, Steve.
Looking forward to the game. Really looking forward to it, guys. I thought that was an absolutely brilliant debut by Isak. So I'm really excited to see him make his home debut. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I was just. Did he say it was 50-1 for a hat trick? Is that what he said? That's you know what? Nothing would surprise us. The way that he looked so calm and cool on the pitch, confidence levels without being arrogant. He looks a wonderful, wonderful player. I'm really excited. I'm going to go for 3-1. I don't agree with Mitch as much as yes, they are an organised team, but I don't think they travel well to St James's. I think they're one of those teams that sometimes flatter to deceive, and it's just a tiny little cog in them, and they seem to go off the rails. And I thought that the comments of Zaha in midweek that told you that he's in the dressing room letting his mouth go at other players, and I just thought that's great. That's good for us. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win, and a deserved 3-1 win. Get our second win of the season. And after the performances that we've had against Man City, where I thought we deserved 3, and against Liverpool, where I always thought that we deserved 3, this time I think we will take the 3.
Congratulations to Mozza. You are the winner of the Shearer package, which is signed by Alan Shearer at the 260 dinner. A nice little memento of that evening. Contact John just as Alan, and he will sort that out for you. Keith, I'm going 2-0. The lads have both gone for victories as well. Are we going to all agree that it's a win for Newcastle tomorrow?
Well, you know what, I'm going with you, Steve. I'm going 2-0. I just think that I don't think all the players will be back, but I think we've got too much for them. I think Isak will score again tomorrow. Looks unbelievable. He looks like a player that can play with Wilson, which is a great bonus. He looks like a player that could play down the left, down the right, down the middle, and even slightly behind the forwards. He looks like a bloke that can beat a man and create goals out of nothing. But I can't wait for tomorrow. I think we've got too much for them. I think they're a good side. I think they're well organised. But I think Steve Hasty said that I don't think they travel well away from home, and I think we'll win it by 2 goals.
Yeah, great stuff, as always, from everybody in the chat and from the admins as well. Well done to Mozza. Please don't forget, as well, if you can help us with a film, doesn't matter how much you can put in. If you can just put a £5 in, that would be great. I mean, if 600 people put a £5 in, that's a lot of money going towards helping me with this project. But yeah, have a look at it. Click on the link when the show finishes. Just got time. We've managed to get there to squeeze in Julie's favourite. So I like to tweet things, to people every now and then. And good luck, Dubravka, and thanks, Sam Bold Nonce. Jesus. I mean, I wonder if Dubravka saw that, He probably did.
I'm just pleased I'm not a nonce. I mean, I agree. I've got the same haircut as you. But
I'm not a nonce.
I'm pleased I'm not bold nor a nonce.
Unbelievable though. They keep on coming. They keep getting blocked. But at least it gives us a little bit of content on a Friday night. And I thought I would finish up with something a little bit different. And it's a poem which I've seen James Bridgewood's work before. And those of you who are of a certain vintage will remember old Stevie Charlton, who used to stand in the paddocks. Great guy. And James posted on one of the message boards this poem. It was called The 12th Man. For a decade in and a decade out, United's loyalist fan was a bloke we called Old Stevie, such a charismatic man. Come Saturday, home or away, he never missed a game. To watch the mighty Magpies play was Stevie's weekly aim. Steve stood just by the dugout near the halfway line by choice. This fellow every Toon fan knew would always lend his voice. A United ever-present, famous all throughout the land. His charisma was unparalleled, this Geordie talisman. As dapper as you like this chap, the style of times bygone. A necktie and an old cloth cap and a three-piece suit he'd done. "Howay, man, pull your fingers out," came his impassioned cry. The 12th man on the terraces was anything but shy. Embracing football till the end, till he could go no more, Steve was summoned up to heaven at the age of 84. Now the 12th man's ghostly spirit lingers with the faithful still, here amongst the strong devoted, and I'm sure it always will. Brilliant stuff that from James Bridgewood, and I thought it deserved an airing. I knew Stevie Charlton, great guy, and you guys probably all saw him as well, like we all did. But you know what? He would love this, and he would love what's going on in Newcastle at the minute. And, if his family watch the show, if you know somebody who knows them, pass on my best to them, because he's never forgotten amongst this fan base. Great to have you all on board tonight. Thanks to me mates, as usual, for joining us for 2 hours of crack. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Germany. Auf Wiedersehen to everybody watching over there. And Auf Wiedersehen, Mitch. Take care, guys.
Cheers,
Take care.
See ya.
Good weekend.